Hey everyone, and welcome to another Desmos graph tutorial. So I actually have a brief outline for what we're going to do. We're not going to be doing much in terms of working with this graph, but the good news is that we are going to be cleaning these lines up so that it makes our life easier when we see. Well, we're not going to color this, at least I don't think so as of now, but nevertheless, it's still nice to like get rid of like these overlapping lines over here and these lines over here. They don't need to be here as well. So that's the first thing we do. And then I'll take you over to a Google Doc that I have opened, and we'll just be doing the rest of the work here. While I have equations here, and I'll be copying them over. So I'll see you there. All right. So as you can see here, I have all the equations that we need copied over here. So first I'm going to label them. So I'm going to call this equation 1. I'm going to call this equation 2. I'll call this equation 3. And the first thing that we need to do is break this into two equations, one for the top half and one for the bottom half. With the circle, first we're going to actually for all of them we're going to be solving for y, but for a circle, if you've done this enough times, you can find what the answer is. But for those of you, I don't want to lose any of you, so I'm going to do this with you. So first, I want to subtract x squared on both sides. So we're left with y minus 20 squared is equal to 2.5 squared minus x squared. And I made a mistake. Make sure it's still working. All right, and then afterwards, we'll take the square root of both sides. But once we do that, we'll be left with, so this side becomes y minus 20, but this side, we need a plus and minus sign because we want both the top and the bottom half. So this is square root of 5 squared minus x squared. And this is the same as, and we'll write this into 2. Actually, if we're only interested in the bottom half of the graph, so we're only interested in the bottom half because the top half isn't actually intersecting anything if you refer back to it. To negative square root of 5 squared minus x squared. And then we'll add 20 to both sides. It'll be more efficient if I just copy and paste. Let's name square root of 5 squared minus x squared plus 20. Match anything up? Check my answer right now. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, because we shift up 20. Oops. A squared. Oh. Okay, I'll actually move this. No, I'll do that later. That'll be too confusing. Okay, so this was one of the relatively easier ones. But this one is more involved because we have to use. It's sort of using a quadratic formula, but I feel like it'd be more intuitive if I just like complete this square in this one. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So our goal is to isolate y, but we can first isolate y minus 0 first because we can treat this as our quote unquote x squared plus a constant times x plus another constant. All right, so first thing, hope this is intuitive. We're going to subtract x minus 0, x minus x sub 0 is the whole thing squared. So it's going to be 2.5 minus, so it's going to be x minus x0 y minus y0. Put the limiters there. Okay, we haven't done anything to this side yet. Y minus y0. So that's this part right here, squared. To 2.5 minus x sub 0 squared. Oh, don't want to render just yet. Keep this. Okay, and the next thing, or next step normally we would do is if there's another number multiplying this square term here, we would divide both sides by that, but we don't have anything, which is good. All right, so now we can complete the square. So in this case, we have to add this number. This is our b term here. If you remember the standard form of a quadratic equation. So this x minus x0 is basically this b term right here, and we divide that by 2 times a, which is just 2 because a is 1. So we're left with this divided by 2, the whole thing squared, which is what we're going to add. So it's going to do on both sides. We're going to add. So on the top we have x minus x0, and then we have on the bottom we have 2 for the whole thing. Add this to both sides. Perfect. And then we can just take the square root of both sides. And before I get too ahead of myself, be better if we factor this out. So normally, so if we make a substitution for y minus y0, then we're gonna have, I need to think. Okay, it's gonna be, all right, so factor it out. You get something not very nice. So I have to use constant instead of actual numbers, then things may have actually simplified. This is going to be y minus y0. So plus, we can just have a plus. X minus x0 over 2. Squared. Maybe I would check that. I'm just going to copy down that right side. Yeah, I'm just going to say right now that this document will be made public, but I highly suggest you try to solve this with me, even though I feel like I might be going a little too fast and typing a lot of gibberish with it. Let's see. This thing's first, you do that. Yeah, yeah. All right. Okay. Oh yeah. Now we can take the square root of both sides. Oh my. We can actually open up these parentheses. Y0. Oops. Y minus y0 plus. Okay. Let's go to. Why did I not copy and paste this? Go to this one. Squared plus x minus x0. Plus that whole thing squared. And since we're taking a square root, on this side we need to add a plus or minus. We take the square root of it. Oh. Hey, everything. Okay. Um. Okay, and the rest, we just treat them as if they were constants. So, I'm gonna combine two steps into one. So I'm gonna add y0 to the other side, and I'm also gonna subtract x minus x0 to the other side. So first going to do render this because I don't want to. It will kill me and kill you. I don't copy. If I don't do things efficiently when I can do them. Okay, so all right, so I'm gonna add y sub 0. Now let's track fraction right here, which means this doesn't need to be there anymore. And this is our y I'll solve for. Okay, so all right, so I'm not going to spend time solving this equation because it is basically the mirror copy of this equation right here, and I'll be writing a lot of the same stuff. So I want to solve that at unrecorded, um, and I'll put these two equations back into the calculator. So I want to toggle back onto the calculator. All right, so I'll copy the equations over. As you can see, they work out really nicely. But one of the things that I do want to mention is that at in the Google Doc for this equation to add a squared term. I forget which one, but one of them had added squared, had 2.5 squared. I don't know how I got that copied over. But anyways, like the 2.5 shouldn't be squared if you're following along. Um, and I have these two equations temporarily derendered. And I also derender this one and just break this into two pieces like I did with the other ones. And so now that we have these two equations, now that we have these equations broken up, we can actually start cleaning up these lines. And by looks of things, I don't think we'll be using these full equations anymore. We'll be moving with these half equations so that we can just simply just derender them. Uh, okay, so I'm going to do something similar that I did in one of my previous tutorials, and that is to so we're first going to just temporarily use these numbers that were estimated for us, and then like in say tomorrow's episode, or in tomorrow's video, I'll just make like it's going to be like a episode 0.5 and just find out what these numbers actually are, and then we'll transfer these over. So for now, we're just going to use the y boundaries because we can just hit two equations at once. So when we clean up, it's going to go from 17.511. In fact, we're going to do y is greater than 19.768. key, and then this point is it's out. Oh, I can highlight it. 17.511. You know what? I'm not gonna have this here. It's gonna keep like that. So I'm thinking about the shape that I want while I'm working on this. So CPU is gonna go for this one, and in this case, what is this point? Negative 2.489. Okay, this one's good. Okay, and this one is entirely symmetric, so greater than 2.489, then a 1.087, and this one is positive. All right, now we can just use whatever color line that we like to outline this whole thing. And find out where to put this. All right, so I do apologize for video length. It's going longer than I wanted to, but then again, like we got this basic shape of a clown going on. And one more thing. Got to bring up the shape of the nose. So if you chose to use a circle, if you haven't figured it out by now, it is x squared plus y minus whatever height that you want it to be to the square root of your radius. If you had something like that, you are on the right track, but just want to color it in at this position. There we go. Since we want to include everything inside the circle, we should include this inequality sign, a less than or equal to sign. All right. Right. So that concludes everything that we're going to do today. And next week we're going to get a mouth in, and maybe add a hat. Hair's going to be too much. Right. I will see you next week then, if not tomorrow.